Hello, this is Flame Nash,
And this is Dr. Jones.
and today we are talking about The Greatest Showman.
Now, I know we've told.
So
Now, I know
far,
what you're thinking. Why review a musical? What are you guys doing? I asked myself that same question
and
before watching this movie. But you know what? It's actually pretty good, and I really don't have anything to complain about this movie. Pretty solid movie.
I mean, I couldn't say much going into it. I found some of the music online because YouTube's amazing, guys.
Yes.
Yes, and I listened to it. I'm like, this is good. So I went and watched the movie, and I thought it was good. And then I went and recommended it to you to watch. So this is one of my recommended
Yep.
movies that we're doing. I think next week, or whenever we get around to next recording,
Yeah.
we'll be doing one of yours.
Okay. Yeah, we promise you our 10 subscribers minus me and Flame Nash that we will review it sometime within the
The
next
next
month.
year.
We will review something.
Yes. You'll get
Something.
another video. So I guess let's start off. Let's just give a general summarization of the plot.
Okay.
Just to start off, I think this was what we'll start off doing almost consistently, as
Yeah.
gives us the you guys the background that you need to at least more or less understand the plot. So starting off, we have Phineas Taylor Barnum, P.T. Barnum, who is a real person actually. So the
Yeah.
movie's based off of a real story, based off true events, unlike the other movies we reviewed. At least
Well, they did take place in a long time ago
in a
in a
galaxy
galaxy
far,
far,
far
far away.
away. So who knows? So he was. We first see him in kind of meeting his future wife, at least the wife that we
Mm-hmm.
see. He does marry another one shortly before he died.
Yeah.
Um,
I would just like to point out in that scene that her dad is just the complete jerk.
yes.
just slaps him right across the face. I had that in my notes. I'm like, this guy's just like,
I mean, I could yes, making the daughter laugh. This perfect little princess, as he's believed, and this random, basically homeless little peasant makes him laugh.
yeah.
Makes her laugh. Uh, well,
And
so then after this scene, we have little Phineas, the little Barnum, and then his first wife, Charity, and then the only wife we see throughout the movie.
mm-hmm.
They go on an event. We have one of our first music pieces.
Yes, which is probably my favorite, and I think is really well executed.
Actually, yeah, it definitely really was. Just the growing up, the two different
Yeah.
ideas of this high impoverished life of Charity and how she's going through schooling and everything, and we see more focusing on um, Phineas's life as he was after his father dies when he was a fairly young age.
hmm And right before they started singing when I was watching this, I'm like, wait, this is a musical? I'm like,
I
oh
know.
crap, I have to sit through a musical? But I thought it was pretty. I thought the scene was actually pretty well done, so I didn't really bother me.
I mean, I know. Who would have thought that Hugh Jackman
Like,
could sing?
seriously, like it's kind of nice to see him do other things besides ripping people's faces off as Wolverine. But I would have never known he could have done that either.
I mean, he did. I believe, if I'm getting this right, he did get his. Yeah, he did get his early career in theater.
Mm,
So it does kind of make sense
yeah.
that he would start off by singing. That he is able to sing. The other characters, yeah, that was more surprising. Other
Yeah.
than one of the later characters. What's his name? That other
Was it
character.
was it the guy who was his partner?
Yeah, the partner.
Let's see if I have it in my
I
notes.
mean,
I probably don't.
it's
Google. IMDb.
I mean, I know who the actor was. I just can't tell you who the real name of it was. We are
Yeah.
so professional. Here we are just Googling characters' names.
I think another scene I really liked was when they were dancing on a rooftop and you had this awesome picture
Oh.
of the
Mm-hmm.
moon. I really thought that was cool.
Yes, actually, it was definitely really cool.
Oh, was it are you think was it Zac Efron, the actor?
Yeah, Zac Efron. Who
And
did
it
he
was
play?
Philip Philip uh yeah, Philip something. There.
Oh, Philip Carlisle.
Yeah,
Carlisle.
Carl.
Carlisle. Um,
There.
yes.
I liked him in the movie.
Yeah, he definitely was. Definitely was a cool. I definitely like their music scene. That song
Oh,
when they're in the bar.
yes, that was probably my favorite one
That
out of
was
all of them.
that was easily my favorite.
That was really cool.
I mean, just the bartender and then the dance choreography there.
Yes.
Absolutely fantastic. So going on with it, Barnum gets his starting in the railroad industry. Marries Charity, his childhood love.
And his
Um,
her jerk dad's like,
Proving
yeah,
the jerk
she'll be
dad
back here in
she'll
a
be
couple
back.
months.
Yeah, she'll be
Just
back.
you wait and see.
Yep, sooner or later.
Yeah.
Um, in which she does just a couple years later. Just a couple
Yeah.
for like a month, I think.
Mm-hmm. Time
Actually,
isn't really specified, but
definitely, yeah, there definitely
yeah.
that was not set up very well. Um, and then continuing from that, we have him. The railroad company failed as they lost multiple
Just because,
ships.
yeah, it's because of World War I, right? Or was it World War II?
No, this is before all this.
Oh.
He died in the in the he died in 1891.
Oh. Well, I thought okay. Yeah. Hmm. I
I
didn't know that.
mean, I'm not good at history, but
Hey, I mean, I thought Miguel was Pedro Paramo's dad, so.
I mean, yeah,
But
definitely. I haven't.
so my memory is not great apparently. But
Yes.
yeah, he uses like the advertisement of the ships to get the loan from
Well,
the
he used the documents. So
yeah.
the ownership of the 12 sunken boats in the movie to get his to get the loan to get the building.
Yeah, which started out as a wax
It was a
museum.
wax museum in the
Yeah.
movie. Yep, a wax museum. And interestingly enough, actually, by Wikipedia, so I'm gonna be quoting Wikipedia here. Take everything I say with a grain of salt. Which all of these wax museums were hoaxes.
Really?
These fake, well, everything to an extent,
Oh
everything
yeah.
was fake in it.
What am I thinking? I thought you meant the wax museum never. He never did that.
Well,
Whatever.
I don't know. The Wikipedia does not mention a wax museum. It does talk about when he first started his hoaxes, and then
Oh
his
yeah.
circus life. But he started hoaxes, and yep. So he purchased the museum. He added exhibits, and then renamed it Barnum's American Museum, which we actually see.
Yeah.
Um, and this is where he had stuffed animals, albinos, giants, little people, jugglers, magicians, exotic women, detailed models of cities and famous buildings, and a menagerie of animals.
Hmm.
Um, yep. So that is what it became. Like, Watson. And that's what it would become. So then we see this. Um, so this museum is where his first circus, where he gets all the freaks. And I think I think that was really interesting. What do you think about that, kind of in general? I think like just looking back on this, we're looking back at a time, I believe realistically before, well, New York is in a northern state, so slavery, but that does not mean that there is
discrimination.
There's still not the discrimination between all these people. What do you think about this? I mean,
I thought that was really interesting how they did that, how they had the protesters and all that. Because at the time I would have thought it would be more towards like a racial discrimination than, like how people, like appearances, right? The bearded lady, and then the albino, I think, people, and then
there's the bearded lady, the overly tall guy, the fat guy, the short person,
and then
the simply tattooed people of color, people of all shapes and sizes.
Yeah, pretty much.
All shapes, sizes, colors, and freaks, essentially. Basically all the freaks.
Yeah.
All the unique people, as he puts on the flyers at the very beginning. Anyone unique.
Yeah, I was really surprised with one of them was like the guy who dresses up as Napoleon.
Yes, him.
When I saw like his feet, and I'm like, holy crap, is this Peter Dinklage? I literally thought it was Peter Dinklage, and then it wasn't. I'm like, I don't care about this guy. I got so excited. I'm like, no way.
Ooh, another famous person I can add to this.
He probably can't sing though, so.
We've got Hugh Jackman. We've got Zac Efron. We've got Zendaya. Just add another tick mark next to it. Just gotta get more famous people.
Yes.
Definitely seems like something Fox would do.
Yeah.
I guess my general opinion as we're talking about this, like his usage of these unique people. I think the critic, describes it really well at the very end of the movie, near the end of the movie, where he talks about how even though he hated it, by taking in these unique and freak people, he's showing to the world, and by treating them as equals and allowing them all be on stage, if not called a disgrace against humanity, rather.
It was like a celebration.
A celebration
of humanity. I think that's what he said. Yeah.
I think that describes it perfectly. It's like though he puts on an act at the circus, he puts on an act as, everything we have here is fake. Essentially, he's allowing everyone that wouldn't even be allowed a chance in the society, who, as they describe themselves, as people their parents, their mothers chose to hide, would hide and would disown, essentially, these freaks. But they finally got a chance in the spotlight. And we continue on with the plot. So he sets up the circus in his original wax museum. That flops horribly.
Yeah.
And then we see it. So he's over here trying to
find interesting people.
That's not immediately what it is. It's he goes to the bank to talk over the loan, I believe, and he sees the small person, and
I can't remember his name, but he was Napoleon. I think
he was the Napoleon. He's the small person, whatever his name is. I'm so sorry. and then we see the apple scene. I think that was fantastic. I think that's like
Mm-hmm.
because if you pay attention to the movie, you know exactly what he's thinking of right there. Also,
Yes.
and if we look back in the past, and we look all the way back at the beginning of the movie, because this is like, I don't know, maybe like a fourth. It's quite a while after the first scene.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was amazing to have that throwback and not have like a this thing, but just like something that we know what he's thinking about because we've seen it. It's when he gets the apple at the scene where
Yeah.
he tried stealing bread. He gets the apple from the freak and gives him the idea. I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah. I really thought that was a clever, almost foreshadowing, I guess, maybe. English terms.
I mean,
Or not foreshadowing, but
I think it's kind of a realization on his part. I don't know if he
yeah.
ever thought about like these freaks as actual humans, but it's kind of him realizing that this one person, this one kind person, kind of changed his life for the good, at least in the movie
Yeah.
wise. And it didn't matter how she looked, and it didn't matter who she was. She helped him out, and now he's kind of pushing this favor forward and helping out everyone
Mm-hmm.
like her. All these freaks in New York, actually all over realistically all over the United States because of the railroad at that point.
Yeah.
And would have gone around. So in that, they set up for a while, and then Barnum, P.T. Barnum, wants to get his show. He becomes rich. He finally is able to give his wife the life that she wanted, the life that he wanted to give her, the life
Yeah.
that he promised.
I think the life he wanted to give her.
Yep, the life he promised her.
Mm-hmm. And he restores the
Story.
house, right, that they used to play in.
Yep,
Right.
that house.
And that's where they live in.
I love the. I think there's one thing about this movie. I love how circular everything is. Is that
Yeah.
nothing's there for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Everything has a reason to be there. We have the mansion at the beginning because it shows this abandoned mansion that they both had fun in, and then it comes back around as this restored mansion that he restored for them. I believe that's what it is. I may be wrong on that,
Yeah.
but I believe it's that mansion.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the apple, and then we have multiple other scenes where it's kind of this. Realistically, it's this story is kind of his realization of what's important to him. I mean, that's what I would argue.
Yeah.
Like, the major thing is kind of realizing what he has at the moment, and it didn't matter about him being rich. It doesn't matter where the money's comes from.
Yeah, I really noticed that they were, from the beginning, they were kind of pushing this, kind of this, true happiness. What is happiness? And he thought it was, giving her this lavish life and that she grew up in, but in reality, it was family and being together. As he, in the end, leaves the circus to watch his children or be with his family as his children grow up.
And I think this pushes this point further as we continue along with this plot. We have Jenny Lind, the Swedish Nightingale. So the singer, the opera singer, if you remember who that is.
Yes.
We have him choosing that rather than allowing the circus to continue, he meets the queen, trying to prove to the world that he's an actual person, that he deserves this wealth, and he's a hard worker rather than this con man. And then before this, we meet Zac Efron and his character, and have one of the greatest musical scenes in the entire movie, and I swear by this.
Yeah.
Purely because of the dance choreography, I think that was amazing, and I think also the song's just fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And then as the bartender's pouring the shots and everything, that was really cool.
So we go forward, and we have Jenny Lind, as I was saying. And then Jenny Lind kind of has this realization where it's him trying to get and make a living for himself rather than the circus giving him all the money. He wants Jenny Lind to be this. Right? Jenny Lind falls in love with him because he's finally giving the choice.
Yeah.
Barnum leaves. Jenny Lind quits. He's bankrupt. forced to go
After,
home bankrupt, and then we have the scene, and this is the point where the theater breaks down. It burns down by the
yeah,
crowds.
because the protesters get in,
The
right?
protesters don't leave. They
Was
don't leave, and they get in a fight, and they burn down the building.
wasn't it like right after?
It was right after a show, I believe.
Yeah, or yeah, that's right. And then he's like, "Ah, frick, what am I supposed to do?"
And it sets him back to stage one because it's with
Mm-hmm.
this he's out of luck. He's broke again, and kicked out of his house. He was evicted from
Has
his mansion.
Yeah, and his wife left him
His wife left him also.
until Zac Efron comes in clutch, and he's like, "Well, I owned 10% of the show, and I saved all my money."
And knowing who I was dealing with, I took my exchanges at the end of every week, and I've been saving it since.
Yeah.
And I'll give this
So,
money back to you, but buildings are expensive here.
and then they decide to go 50-50.
50-50. They go tent, the standard circus affair nowadays.
And then he leaves the circus and lives with his family, from what I understand, in the movie.
Yes. That kind of ends it. It ends it right
And
there.
it comes full circle, right? It ends
comes-
where it began.
It comes full circle.
Right.
Except in New York rather than New York. It comes full circle. New York to you, New York.
Yes. Okay. Well, I think with that brief summary, I think we should move on to some things we liked about this film.
A brief summary. This summary's been going on
Brief.
for 20 minutes.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
How long we been? Holy crap!
Yeah.
Okay.
Though to be fair, we were gonna talk about our favorite scenes. I think we've kind of already
we
done.
were.
We've really already done most of that by now.
Yeah. So, do you want to talk about things we didn't really like about the movie?
There wasn't a whole lot.
Yeah, I didn't really. There wasn't really anything that I hated in the movie. Okay, yeah, I already said it, but it's really stupid. The one thing I didn't like that I had in my notes was that I didn't like the CGI animals. I thought that was just stupid. As the kids riding this like elephant that doesn't even look real. I mean, well, it's like, yeah, I can. It doesn't look real in the sense because it looks like Dumbo or something, right? It looks like a cartoon animal, right? Like it's a circus and they're trying to go for that, but I just really didn't like it.
Oops.
I thought the animals looked cheesy, but
I mean, I didn't really notice that.
yeah. But I'm a big fan of practical effects, so it probably bugs me more than it would other people.
Yeah, other than that, I thought the movie was pretty well written. I think there was really no major plot holes in it. I think everything comes full circle as we've talked
Yeah.
about.
It's
No room for
just
sequels, which I would really hope there wouldn't be a sequel. I think
Disney-
they covered like the more
Disney
important.
bought Fox.
That's the last thing we need.
Disney bought Fox, and they made a Man from Snowy River sequel. So,
Oh no,
eh,
please!
I wouldn't. Maybe we could be getting a sequel to this.
I don't even know what they would do with it.
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, they went full
I
circle.
wouldn't put it past Disney though.
Yeah. There's nowhere to go with that story. I mean,
Yeah.
Fox did a fantastic job with it. I'm sure there are plenty of things wrong with it. Like as you mentioned, the CGI
Yeah.
kind of looked cheesy. The good guy lives happily ever after.
Classic. Classic indeed.
Blah blah blah. Yeah, there are probably plenty of things wrong with it. But other than that, I think just in general, I thought it was a pretty well written movie.
Yes.
I don't know if just giving
I
even
really
more
enjoyed it.
praises. Even
Hugh
more.
Jackman was awesome in the movie.
Yeah.
So, if you could like maybe rate it out of 10 or 5 stars or whatever, what would you give the movie?
I think because we should keep this consistent, and I think this is one of the
Mhm.
first times we're doing this rating system.
Yeah.
Um, let's go out of 10. Let's go out of 10 for now.
Okay. Out of 10.
Or I guess it depends on what you want to do. I'm good with either. 10, 5
I think
stars
10 works.
out of 10.
Hmm.
1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest, and we'll just keep the
Yeah.
standard for a while now until we decide it gets boring and we want to do it again. Um, I would probably give it probably about an 8, 8 stars, 8 stars, 8 stars out of 10. We're just gonna merge both of them.
8. 8 stars
An
out of
8 out of
10.
10.
Let's do it. Yeah, I would give it. Yeah, I would agree with you. I would give it an 8 stars out of 10 because I can't complain about this movie. There's nothing I really disliked about this movie. I usually am not a big fan of musicals, but I really enjoyed this movie, and the musicals didn't really bother me.
Yeah, I
In
thought.
fact, I enjoyed some of them,
Mm-hmm.
like the bar scene, and then the one with the bearded lady, where it like turns into this Matrix scene where everyone's like going in like slow motion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just adding my points into why. Just as you said, I thought it was a fantastically, mostly well written story. All the music, like most of the musicals we see nowadays, is from Disney, almost exclusively. All
There's
the
a
major
musical
ones.
about making a musical
I'm
to
waiting for that
High
to
School
happen. Disney
Musical.
when. Disney when.
Yeah.
Um, but like they got the talent there. Like that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
They hired for it. They had Hugh Jackman. They
Great
had Zac
actors.
Efron.
They had
Two two
can't remember
major.
her name, but she's MJ in the new Spider-Man
Yeah,
movies.
Zendaya.
Zendaya. Yeah.
Zendaya.
Sorry, I butchered your name.
I'm so sorry.
Not watching this. She doesn't care.
Everyone does. No one gets it right apparently.
No.
Um, yeah. I think it was just kind of a really great movie. Like all the musical scenes were fantastic. None of them were horrible. Yeah. Unless you have any final points, I think we're gonna end it. I
Don't
think I'm good to
have
end it
any
here.
final points.
Yep.
I think I'm good with ending it here.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think what we're gonna do next. It won't be
Oh.
the Mandalorian. I can.
No.
I
Or
can.
will it?
Or will it?
Or will it?
Or will it? Maybe Mandalorian will eventually come.
Maybe.
Episode 10, guys.
Ooh, we do have the Clone Wars coming. don't we?
Well, just do the Clone Wars before the Mandalorian. But
I don't know. Yeah, we probably wouldn't be able to finish it though.
no, not in reasonable time. So we'll eventually get back to Star Wars content.
Maybe if you guys want that.
But other than that, I
Might do Castlevania, right?
Castlevania or Sonic, whichever one comes next. The Sonic movie, which at the time of releasing just came out actually. So
yeah.
plan on one of those being next.
And then we will look at some of the movies you guys recommended, and we'll randomly pick one.
Mm-hmm. So I think this has been Flame Nash and Dr. Jones, and we're signing out.
Until next time.
Till next time.